Hello, welcome. We've got a awesome new tool here. It's a SaaS customer configuration and pricing simulation. Really, really nice logic here. Any business that has customers that have recurring revenue, um, some acquisition costs, some cost of that revenue over time will benefit from this. Contract lengths, varying retention, all that's going to be able to be isolated, um, see visuals on it. This is a really, really great tool, very advanced pricing simulator, and we'll get right into it here. And you'll be able to buy this template in the description box below, or check out smarthelping.com. It's going to be in the SaaS section. So, summary. Here you can define all of the high level inputs for the customer. And I'll kind of go over a high level of each tab, and then I'll go into the actual calculations. So here you can define, things like retention rate, um, onboarding costs, monthly cost to service a customer, discount rate for the net present value, and some more deep calculations for the monthly cost of a customer. And then it shows summaries of essentially a single customer's net cash flow over their lifetime, gross profit percentage, and average customer life. This is the retention rate applied over time. And all this is dynamic. If you change these values, everything will change. And then we have lifetime visuals, which shows each customer type, lifetime customer cash flows, lifetime customer gross profit margin, and average customer life, which is retention. The best visuals of all, right here. Look at these really cool looking charts. These are for the main metrics that are pulling from what you see in these tables here. And so that's different than these, which are showing the whole lifetime over, up to 120 months. And these are the aggregate values. So customer acquisition cost, contract length, renewal rate, CAC payback period, lifetime value, lifetime value to CAC, monthly cost, customer revenue for each type versus cost, and IRR per customer. Now, what this can be used for, there's all kinds of uses. You can assume, let's say these are all the same customer, but you're seeing what happens if the retention rate is different. Let's say it's, if it's, 85, 80, we can just drag that down to 45, and that will adjust. You can see the net present value of or the lifetime value of the customer changes, non-discounted value changes, all these ratios, the IRR. And you can see now in the visuals, you can see renewal rates going down. These different metrics are affected by that. Um, so there's all so you could do that. Adjust retention rate, hold all else equal. You could have the same retention rate, but maybe change the contract length terms. So maybe you want to see what it looks like if you have 24-month contracts versus 12 versus even month to month. This could be 1 month, and you would just adjust your uh, contract value per customer for whatever the value of the contract is. So it's month to month. It'll probably, let's just do the same here, make it 16,667. Um, in that case, all the numbers update and you can see for tier one customer, here's their um, cash flows. In the advanced retention logic that's being used is shown here dynamically. There's a lot of cool stuff happening here. And obviously that flows into each tab 1 through 10, which is showing all the advanced calculations. Now the idea is for retention, let's say this is month to month at 90%, it means, well, in theory, you lose 10% of a given cohort every month in this case at every renewal, since it's monthly. And so in 10 months, you'd be at 0. So you can see this goes to 0 by month 10. Month 11 is 0. So if your retention rate is 90% at the renewal period and it's 1 month contracts, then the customer is definitely going to be gone by month 11, but you don't know when it will be gone. So the only way to mathematically and correctly show the value of that customer over their lifetime is to evenly uh, reduce the value by 10%, in this case 10% every month. And if it were a 75% retention, you're now reducing by 25% each renewal period until you get to 0. Or if it was 50%, you're saying essentially you've only got 2 periods with them, and then they're going to be gone. So you just take the average value of the contract and at each renewal against whatever the retention is. There's advanced increase in contract value theories here. So let's put this back to 90. In theory, put this contract value back up to 200,000. So in theory, we can say at every renewal, does the contract value go up? So you're upselling or you're increasing the value of your customers. And if it does, that happens here. And if the retention rate were, let's say, 100%, meaning it never goes down, then you can see that the average contract value going up by 10%. And you can see that here at every 12-month period, it's going up by 10%. However, there's very likely, obviously, retention in almost any case. So that means you're going to lose some of that customer value at each renewal, but the customers that stay are going to pay a little bit more based on this, whatever you define here. And if you think it's 0% and they never pay more than what the initial contract value is, you can put 0% here, and that's fine. And you can see how that will affect lifetime values, all these advanced ratios, LTV to CAC. Let's get into the tabs. So you got 1 through 10 tabs. These are all automated, so you can drive everything from this summary page in light yellow and blue text. So if we go from top to bottom, we define customer acquisition costs based on total ads or sales and marketing spend plus ad spend against the amount of customers in that same period of spend to get your customer acquisition cost on average. And that number is going to be combined with any onboarding cost to get your initial one-time cost at period 0. Then we have, and all these inputs are defined right on the front summary where you can define them. Like here's that 10,000 other onboarding costs. Here's the ad spend. Here's the annual marketing spend the customers acquired in that period. So all that, those inputs are here, and they're just a formula is dragging them over here dynamically. Customers. So here it's very likely customer service reps have to handle, or might have to handle servicing customers. That's considered cost of goods sold and a part of the ongoing cost, and it's going to be reduced to get your gross margin per customer per month. So we can figure that out by saying, the number of customers a single customer service rep can handle, what their monthly salary is, and then based on that, we can derive a average monthly customer service rep cost per customer, because we're trying to drive everything down to one single customer basis and what that customer looks like, and then adjust high-level variables to see what is ideal if you have different scenarios happening or different configurations. We've got so there's that. The other ongoing monthly cost is going to be like hosting, servers, other costs that you can drill down to a per customer basis, and these two will add together to get this ongoing cost. So you've got ongoing revenue and you've got ongoing cost to service the revenue, and then your gross margin is the difference between the two, and this gross profit percentage. And this is going to be what primarily will drive the margins of your SaaS or recurring revenue business. Everything else, all the other costs are going to be fixed expenses. Then we got contract length, which is dynamic, and that's just going to, every time the contract period is up, it'll apply this renewal rate and adjust accordingly. That's kind of what is happening on this retention logic math here. We've also got the average contract value, the one-time setup fee. So this is if you're going to charge the customer any money up front on top of their contract value. We got the monthly value per customer, which is just taking the ongoing amount divided by the contract term in months. Average increase in contract value, I went over that. And then here's essentially the cash flow of the customer. You have the growth factor, which is taking this annual average increase at renewal. You've also got the customer count, which is going to be a factor of the customers remaining against the retention rate. And to get that, you see we simply define or multiply the monthly value per customer times the growth factor, times the customer count. So you got over time losing, but you might be increasing the value of the contract of those that stay. So that logic is right there. Then we've got our monthly costs, which because we're all on we're basing this on a single customer. If we assume that at renewal we lose some of them, then the cost has to adjust accordingly. So the cost is going to multiply by that customer count factor against what that monthly cost is for customer service reps and hosting. Ideally, you're increasing the value of the customers that stay, and the amount of cost to service those customers is going down. So we have gross profit. This is this cash flow that anytime you have a cash flow like this, you can run an internal rate of return. So your initial cost is all the startup costs, one-time fees, all the customer acquisition cost goes into here, and then that's measured against the future cash flows to get an IRR monthly converted to annual basis. Then we've got a discount rate. Again, that's going to be applied here on the summary. Discount rate here, and that can be adjusted based on how risky you think the cash flows are. And then that's converted to monthly, and then you got the present value of the cash flows, and then based on that, we can figure out the average customer lifetime net present value and average customer lifetime no discount rate applied. Now, keep in mind, these are taking into account the initial startup costs. On our summary, when we go to calculate the customer lifetime value here, we're adding back the acquisition cost. So essentially, this number is all future cash flows of the customer discounted against any onboarding costs or revenues less any other onboarding costs. And that's what this number is. And then the LTV to CAC ratio is using the discounted value, which I just explained, divided against the cost to acquire a customer. Now, if you wanted to use the non-discounted value, that's fine. You can just adjust the formula. This number is just these totals not discounted, but adding back the CAC. So essentially, the only number that comes out at the upfront is, again, the initial onboarding cost or revenues less additional onboarding costs. So that's why you can see, if I do the math here real quick, this 1,145,000 is equal to all of these cash flows for type 1 customer. These all update dynamically. That total plus one-time revenue minus other onboarding costs. So 1,145,000, 133. So you see that's that number there. And the only difference between this number and the total lifetime contract, including acquisition cost, or the difference is the customer acquisition cost. If I were to just, if I wanted to sum up all the, including CAC. So that, and if I take this, subtract by this, you can see and then add in one-time revenue minus onboarding costs. Oh, did I miss the last month? No. So that's all the cash flows, and then we take all those cash flows minus CAC. And then the difference between these two. Wait, what am I doing? What am I missing here? Let me try to sum this up again. $1,101,000 total cash flow. Now, how we get to 1,145,000? The difference should be this minus this. Or I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way on the addition subtraction. This is the total amount, including the CAC. So if I add the CAC back, now I'm at 1,145,000. Sorry about that. That's just my fault on the math. So this is the total, including all the CAC if we want the total without the CAC to get this number, we just add that in there, and that's the number. So these cash flows take into account everything, single thing that's happening. Okay, that's about it. Let me format these as currency. Like I said, you can get the template at smarthelping.com under the SaaS bundle or SaaS tab at the top. I'm also listing it at Eloquent and eFinancial Models. It's only going to be a $45 one-time fee, and the value here is crazy. I spent a lot of time perfecting this and making it work right. It's just so useful for any SaaS business that's trying to figure out their pricing, their gross margins, and then also they can run some sensitivities. If you want to hold all these different things equal and change one of the variables, you can do that and see it visually. And here, also on here for the lifetime of each customer configuration. And then if you want to dive in and see the detail by month, you can go to the different tabs. There's an index tab to show each high level summary, some definitions, and then obviously the video I'm doing now is this. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. I'll see you on the next one.